These are all poppycock. If you're in them, you're a fool. You're just a fool. After reading this brief, I think that all these coins are more or less counterfeit. And I said so to Chairman Gensler this very morning. Why bother to mention them? Because unlike the banks, these crypto assets all seem to be scams, and I want you out of them. Many of you traffic in them every day. You should. You're wrong. Gensler describes Binance as the Wild West. I wish someone would have told the people messing with crypto that in the Wild West it's possible to lose everything because there's no regulation. They can't possibly keep staying one step ahead of the regulatory posse, but maybe you let them. Maybe you're foolish enough to give them the money. Maybe it's your fault. Ever think of that? Maybe it's your fault. I mean, you're never going to get any credence on Mad Money when you do this stuff to our viewers. I am after you, and I'm not done. I'm getting started.
What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Now, obviously, we had the situation with the SEC and Binance yesterday. The charts did take a bit of a tank. They tried to pop back up. Seems like they're stalling out around that same level again. So I do want to talk about what I'm seeing in the charts right now because we're kind of on that teetering point, and there are a few deciding factors that could really let us know where Bitcoin price could be headed in the short-term future. But what I also want to discuss is the implications of what's going on with the SEC, the backlash that it's getting, what Binance is doing, what you guys should do, the fact that there's 2 senators and more, coming out in the U.S. basically saying Congress is going to have to make a decision on what is going on with the U.S. because all these companies are moving offshore. Even Circle now is looking at Singapore. So it is getting very crazy in these markets right now. I have a lot of clips I want to play for you guys today to really just go over the situation in the U.S., what's happening, what you should do, and also what probably most likely could be happening in the charts pretty soon. So I'll try to keep this short and sweet, but you guys know I try. So without further ado, if you do want to get subscribed, you know what to do. Let's hop in. So you can see right here where we ended up dumping and we came all the way back up. We basically got exactly to the same levels. And Arthur Hayes said, the wall of worry is being climbed. Come with me on this Bitcoin bull market bus. We are still on struggle street, but the moon ain't far away. Well, what's interesting is if we actually look at it right now, you can see that we did come back up to that level, but we have fallen back down. But again, having a look at the fear and greed, it's actually above neutral. It's actually still technically more greedy than it is in fear. So as I've been saying, I think that maybe the public is kind of just getting a little bit desensitized to everything that's going on right now. I will talk about the chart super quick. And at this point, remember we were talking about 25,300. Well, if we actually come over here and we look at this low on this wick, if you look up at the top, you could see that that low was 25,338. And if we come over here, this low that touched right down here was 25,351, right? So I guess at this point, I would say that this is good enough for me. I would say that this is a good enough retest of here. See, we had this again right here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we, had a little bit more of a fake out and then came back into this channel. What you don't want to do, though, is really start breaking down from this area. We have talked about that possibility, but if that does happen, then that would basically be losing this upward sloping structure. You could see we've had very, very nice support there. We technically haven't touched this yet, but if we do continue sideways, eventually we will run into it. So I do want to try to stay above that level. We already had that nice key flip, which is perfect. That's exactly what we were looking for. I would say at this point, for me, I think that's good enough. It doesn't necessarily have to, but the one thing that does bother me, and I'm sorry about these crazy drawings, sometimes TradingView is not really the best. I don't know. It will transfer drawings from other things to different charts. So just ignore everything right here. But basically, what I am concerned about is that we are having this here and then this here as well. So I'm worried that we're hitting the top of this downward sloping parallel channel. That is something to just be worried about, because if we do come back down here, even a retest straight down would be around 17,000. Now, the most important thing that I'm also looking at is this EMA ribbon. What I want to do is I want to stay above it. Now, currently, we are actually above the ribbon as a whole, which is good. That's good for starters, but really what you want to do is get back above this 100 EMA, right? Because you can see, historically speaking, once we tend to get above that, we tend to stay above it for a very, very long time. And obviously, once we fell below it, well, we tend to stay below it for a long time, right? So we're still attempting to get this yellow to flip. And what you want to do is you want to get a twist, like right here. See these twists where the ribbon twists? And then that's how you know that we are starting basically what I believe to be the bull. And as I have said again, we are seeing potential. This is the larger time frame. You could say maybe we are having a little trigger wave that could be forming here. We had another one here. We could be moving the money flow into the green, right? We want to see it get into the green. We haven't seen that just yet, but we did see the guppy switching into neutral. So again, very bullish on the fact that as long as we stay above this trend, then everything is looking fine. And like Ollie Charts pointed out, he was looking at the TD sequential, which I don't usually pay attention to, but he did say that it presented a good buy signal. So obviously he says it shouldn't be able to fall below 26.3, but again, that's something to pay attention to. And the other thing to note is the stock market. Now, the stock market is at a very critical level right here. You can see that's where we're hitting. And if I actually go to the daily really quick, you can see, look at us trying. We go up, we come down. We go up, we come down. So it's a very psychological level. If the stocks do tend to roll over back here, because of the correlation, we may see something affecting Bitcoin. But just, getting back to Bitcoin again, Willy Woo, who does a lot of on-chain analysis, he says cost basis analysis is showing upside looking better than downside. Summer months are typically flat or bearish, but every June inside the reaccumulation phase has been bullish, and we're in such a window. There's a window for Bitcoin to rip in June. He says my educated guess would be a week away for the opportunity to open. So he's saying maybe within a week or so, we could really start to see Bitcoin moving to the upside. And Willy Woo also pointed out, by the way, he said the SEC motions to freeze assets on Binance Exchange. Binance customers don't care, not seeing much Bitcoin leaving, not yet at least. And then Craig Beck says, feels like something different, something significant has changed. People are finally saying F you to the corruption of Gensler and the governments, right? So just a quick recap. If you guys don't want to listen to this, you can skip this part. But just to recap, so the SEC is filing a motion now requesting a restraining order against Binance US. They're specifically asking the court to freeze the assets of Binance's parent companies. The SEC's motion asks Binance to have the funds returned to the customers. So I guess you can withdraw your funds off if you want, if you're using US. Or you can leave it on there, and then they're saying that somehow they'll return it to you. But, I mean, I would personally, if you're worried, just get your funds off the exchange. That's the easy solution. The securities regulator said that these actions are needed rapidly in order to ensure customer safety. It said that the defendants violated and disregarded U.S. laws for years. It noted that many questions remain open about intercompany transactions and said that some defendants claim that they are not under the court's jurisdiction. And CZ has attempted to reassure the public, noting that this only affects Binance US, not Binance.com. So we will have to see what they do. But we did see some, so Bitcoin wasn't really outflowing, but a lot of Ethereum-based tokens, we did see about negative 778 million, so that's pretty crazy. And what we also have seen is a 444% increase in decentralized trading. Look at these right here. Look at this volume. $2.3 billion in volume in just the past 24 hours. So obviously people are saying, well, we'll just get over and get on some DeFi. And that's exactly what I've been saying, guys. If you want to trade, I recommend, obviously, whatever, take it with a grain of salt, whatever you want. Don't trade out of your jurisdiction, yada, yada, this, whatever. But Apex Pro is a decentralized exchange. And if you're familiar with trading on Bybit, it's literally the same exact thing. So if you've ever traded on Bybit, you can just trade. It's exactly the same. You trade using USDC. And yeah, I recommend that. There's a tutorial popping up above, and there also is links in the description if you guys want. There's a lot of bonuses. There's over 56,000 in bonuses if you guys are interested. But yeah, I mean, you're seeing those outflows. Look at this right here. Look at that. Crazy, right? You can just see that spike in the volume. So this is basically what was going on. Gensler came out. He's over on, whatever, with Cramer talking about it. And if you guys really want to watch the video, I'll play it for you. But feel free to skip this because I think we've had enough of this man.
I want you to think about this quote from the Binance chief compliance officer, who bluntly admitted to another Binance employee that, and it involves a curse word that I'm not going to say, quote, "We are operating as a unlicensed securities exchange in the USA, bro," end quote. Really captures the spirit of the enterprise, bro. How can anybody even consider keeping their money with this kind of exchange? It's almost a comedy. They can't possibly keep staying one step ahead of the regulatory policy, but maybe you let them. Maybe you're foolish enough to give them the money. Maybe it's your fault. Ever think of that? Maybe it's your fault.
On these platforms, they often have hundreds of tokens. Coinbase has about 250 on their Coinbase platform and 16,000 that you can trade on their wallet. Binance is measured in the hundreds as well. And all we have to show is that one of them is a security, and they should be properly registering and having rule books against fraud, manipulation as an exchange, broker, and the like. You asked a question, Jim, about individual tokens, and we laid out for a judge and the public, and we're very confident in this, I think it was a dozen tokens in each of these complaints. It's for the public to decide what they want to invest in, but it's the law that it should be based on proper disclosure. And without that proper disclosure, the public can't answer the question as to whether it's just, as you say, counterfeiting or it's a scam or something else. It's those disclosures that helps the public understand. Otherwise, you're just chasing after something, and this is a field with a lot of hype and hucksters and fraudsters.
So Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, responded to this, and I'm going to read this to you. He says, regarding the SEC complaint against us today, we are proud to represent the industry in court to finally get some clarity in crypto rules. Now, he says, remember, the SEC reviewed our business and allowed us to become a public company in 2021. He says, there is no path to come and register. We tried repeatedly, so we don't list securities. We reject the vast majority of assets that we review. The SEC and the CFTC have made conflicting statements and don't even agree on what is a security and what is a commodity. This is why the U.S. Congress is introducing new legislation to fix the situation, and the rest of the world is moving to put clear rules in place to support this technology. Again, instead of publishing a clear rule book, the SEC has taken a regulation by enforcement approach that is harming America. So if we need to avail ourselves of the courts to get clarity, so be it. By the way, in case it's not obvious, the Coinbase suit is very different from others out there, et cetera, et cetera. We'll get the job done. In the meantime, let's all keep moving forward and building as an industry. America will get this right in the end. And I do believe that we will get it right in the end. But obviously, I mean, look at some of the things in the past that we've, outlawed, right? Like prohibition or, seriously, guys, look this up. Pinball. You guys know I play pinball, right? Pinball was illegal in New York and a bunch of other places. Literally, there's a movie that they made on the guy that saved pinball because they said it was a game of chance and not a game of skill. Well, now pinball is, obviously not illegal, right? They tried to do the same thing with the automobile, right? So what they do is they tend to come down a little bit too hard at first, and then ultimately they will create the regulation. And I think that crypto will thrive in America. It just, unfortunately, is going to be a sluggish and kind of annoying path to get there. Even Janet Yellen actually agrees that we need some form of regulation.
Madam Secretary, virtually every interview that we've done over the many years with you, we've always mentioned crypto. We're going to have Brian Armstrong from Coinbase on the program in just a little bit. Obviously, there's the lawsuit that the SEC has now brought against them and the separate lawsuit against Binance just in the past week. I'm curious where you stand now on crypto, because I think there was an evolution in your thinking in certain ways. Maybe it's changed. I don't know. What's your sense for the American public who's thinking about whether to invest in the world of crypto today?
Well, we recently wrote, Treasury contributed a set of reports in response to the president's executive order to examine the risks inherent in crypto, and we identified a number of risks, some of which risk to consumers, investors. Our laws are already strong. The SEC, the CFTC, and other regulators have the ability and tools to protect consumers and investors, and I'm very supportive of seeing those agencies use the tools they have. I can't comment on the individual matters the SEC is looking at, but I think it's certainly appropriate that they do that. And then I see some holes in the system where additional regulation, I think, would be appropriate, and we would like to work with Congress to see additional legislation passed.
And this is where a lot of these senators are, stepping in. For example, Senator Cynthia Lummis stated that the SEC's regulation by enforcement approach is harming consumers. Real consumer protection requires creating a robust legal framework that exchanges can comply with, not pushing the industry offshore or into the shadows. This is why Congress needs to pass the Lummis-Gillibrand Responsible Financial Innovation Act. You also have Senator Bill Hagerty saying that the SEC was weaponized weaponizing its role to kill an industry. According to the lawmaker, the financial regulator's refusal to allow Coinbase to register was indefensible, considering the commission had approved its public listing. Allowing a company to list publicly and then stonewalling their attempts to register is indefensible. And I do think we are going to see a major change, but for example, Circle, they're setting up in Singapore. Now, what is Circle, USDC? Are they going to leave the US? I mean, just think about how devastating it would be to innovation. So again, guys, I'm kind of just going to end there. And for a friendly reminder, if you do want to get your crypto off exchanges and you don't want to use ledgers, if you have a Ledger Nano S, I still think that those are pretty good to use, especially if you have an original one and you haven't updated the firmware. But if not, check out Engrave. They're really cool, guys. Totally air gapped, so I have a link below in the description for that as well. And I do believe that if you use the link below, you get 10% off the purchase, so let me know if that works for you. If not, I did reach out to the team to do that, but nevertheless, guys, that is basically the news for today. So that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I make these videos, and maybe people are realizing that the SEC and all these big fudders, they're just not having as big of an impact as they used to, right? Somebody even said Bits Lotto, right? When the DOJ took Bits Lotto down, it had a bigger dump than what happened with the SEC and Binance. So it just kind of shows you where the industry's going. But I love you guys. You're awesome. Be safe. Have a great day. And if you do want to learn how to trade, make sure you check out this tutorial popping up right here, right now. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.